Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano catch-up where we'll take a look back at some of the main news, items and events from around the Cardano ecosystem that caught my eye in the last week. So lots of good things going on in the ecosystem right now, new launches and new things coming up very early next year. But there's also some not so good things happening with lots of scams out there. And unfortunately, a lot of people are losing a lot of ADA and other tokens in them. So we'll go through all of that. Please do share it out. Let people know what's going on, how they can protect themselves. If you're new and like Cardano content, make sure you subscribe, give the video a like. Thanks, I appreciate it. Let's jump into it. Okay, jumping into it then and looking at some of the scams that are ongoing right now. So there's debates out there whether this should be classified as a wallet drainer, which people on Ethereum would be familiar with, where you sign one transaction and then your wallet can be fully cleared out, or whether this is something else. And really, it doesn't really matter. What matters is there's a lot of people losing a lot of funds here. It does come down to the simple thing that people are signing transactions without looking at the details of what's actually being sent out of their wallet. So we'll go through all of that and hopefully people will be more aware of what's going on and some of the ways around that they can improve their own security. So what's happening is there are different tokens. So one of them was, this is one of the scam wallets. Unfortunately, you can see the amount of ADA that they have got into this one alone, but they were airdropping these tokens into different wallets. So you can see it was called SNEK reward token. Pool.pm has now started marking all of these types of tokens as scam to hopefully warn people. But in this one, there was a link that if you go to this website, you hold this token, then you can claim extra rewards. And on Cardano, we're used to sending a few ADA in order to claim something else due to having to send a small amount of ADA with every native asset. So people thought they were only sending a small amount of ADA out in order to claim other tokens. But if you look at some of these transactions here, what was happening, and actually this is one for an NFT mint, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it's very similar what was happening. So someone thought they were only sending a small amount of ADA, but this one here was sending nearly 4,000 ADA and 108 assets out of the wallet. So if this was only one of the normal ones where you just send a few ADA, it would be just a few ADA here and it wouldn't be any assets included in that. I think the other one actually might be, so this one here was Mercury coin as well. And Mercury coin was an NFT mint that sprung up. They put time limits on it to try and put FOMO into people that they have to get in, they have to sign the transaction as quick as possible. People hadn't done research on it and people went in thinking they were just sending a few ADA to get involved in the mint. But it turns out that when they were signing it, this is what would have come up for people that were signing it. And when you look at it here now, it looks like, oh, how did the person not see it? But when the whole social side is in and the FOMO and everything is built out to try and get the person to rush through it, people do sign things. And unfortunately, you can see this wallet here lost 1,000 ADA and 84 assets. And the same with the other one here. This one, actually, I'm not sure if these people completed it or they were looking for examples. This one here would have been 4,108 assets. So that's a lot of money and a lot of hard-earned money that people have. Unfortunately, it does come down to when you are signing a transaction, you have to read what's going on. So it's not just as easy as it could be. And I know a lot of the wallets after this are looking at ways to try and make it more apparent of what's going on, or ways to maybe blacklist addresses or give you a warning if you are trying to send funds to a known scam address. But if we look at, where was the other one? So El Raulito, who is from Fluid Tokens. I actually have an interview with him from about 5 weeks ago now, a bit late getting it out. I'll put that out in the next few days, talking about what Fluid Tokens is. But he's a very good guy to follow over on Twitter, highlighting a lot of these scams and a lot of what's happening. You can see here, one of the graphics here was showing the victims, all the funds coming in. Then they were selling the NFTs on marketplaces and going through DEXs and DEX aggregators to swap the tokens back into ADA. Now, when they do go to a centralized exchange, that's when you can get authorities involved to try and freeze the accounts when it hits a centralized exchange. But when it's in a decentralized wallet, then nobody can actually freeze the funds that are in there. But I would say definitely follow El Raulito on Twitter. One simple thing that people can do. So as well as obviously looking at your transactions when you go to sign something, one big thing for me is have a hardware wallet that holds the funds that you're not going to trade short term. So anything you're holding for the long term, hold it on a hardware wallet that you don't use for daily trading or you don't use it for anything else, and then have a hot wallet. So a hot wallet is just one that you create in something like Nami, Eternal, Typhoon, any of the wallets, and you create it with a seed phrase. When the funds you want to actively trade, you put them in there, you trade with it, and if the worst case happens and something happens to that wallet, at least it's only the stuff that's in that wallet. It's not all of your assets that are stored in cold storage. If you don't want to get a hardware wallet, then you could do this with two hot wallets. One that is essentially you treat it like your hardware wallet where you never actively trade with it. You send funds from that to your other wallet to trade, and then use one that you interact with dexes and everything like that. Just when I'm mentioning these and airdrops, one to also mention is AXO Trade. So they put out a post today about the AXO airdrop. The vesting scripts are all set up now. So anybody who was a part of the initial ISO or ISPO, I can't remember which one they called it, then the tokens you earn there are now set up in a vesting contract if you went through the KYC and everything. And the first withdrawal will be possible on January 16th. I have a feeling we will see some scams popping up on this of people, of sites saying, oh, you can claim more tokens if you go to X, Y, or Z or whatever it is. But make sure you only go to the official links from AXO Trade. And as far as I know, there will be no other way to get into this. If you missed the airdrop, then don't believe anything you see out there unless it comes from the official sites. And just before we move off the bad stuff and into some of the good stuff that's going on in the ecosystem, one thing to mention is impersonators that are popping up. Every day I'm getting messages about multiple new ones coming out. The other day there was 3 of them. The morning that I come in and check my messages, 3 different accounts had been set up as impersonators. And what you see is they always have a different username over on Twitter. I only have one Twitter account. It's linked in the description below, and I will never directly message anyone first, especially asking how's your trades going or anything like that. I never offer any extra benefits or trades or anything like that in DMs. It's just not going to happen. If you get them kind of messages from me or anybody else out there, 99.9% of the time, I'm speaking from me, it's never going to happen. I'm saying 99.9% of the time from anybody else, it's going to be a scam too. So just be careful out there. If something sounds too good to be true, then there's a very good chance that it actually is. Now, time to get into some of the better news within the ecosystem. The first asset to hit 1 billion trading volume on Cardano, 1 billion ADA worth of volume, is SNEK. Congratulations to the team over there. Look, whatever people think about meme coins, they can't deny the amount of users that this has brought into Cardano and the amount of volume and activity that it has created on the chain. So congratulations to the team, to everybody involved. And look, whether people get in or out of these types of assets is completely up to themselves. Next up, we look at OptionFlow went live on the mainnet. I think they were a day or so late, but this is bringing options to Cardano. And if you look at the charts, we talk about this a lot, where there is a buy the rumor, sell the news. So leading up to a launch, you will see something pumping up. And then when something launches, there can always be a sell off on that. But congratulations to the team on launching. The site is there. I'll leave links down below. I haven't had time to play around with it yet, but it's great to see new types of DeFi plays coming into Cardano. I've seen some of the comments saying about that it's a little complex to use. I think part of that might be that we haven't had options on Cardano before. I need to do a bit more research and try out some test trades on the platform before I put together a video. That probably will be early January at this point before I get that one out, but great to have options coming out. Next, an update on Genius Yield. So Genius Yield there, if you want to be a smart order router operator, then there was a tutorial put out here by Lars and a few others showing exactly how to set up the bot if you want. So it's all open source. Anybody can set this up. And this is to allow you to run a bot that matches orders on the Genius Yield DEX. So it is an order book. So people put in their buys and sells, and then the bots are there to try and match the orders that are coming in. So if you want to get involved, get that set up. I'll put a link to this one down below too. Another project that has been around a while, and as far as I know, they are still anonymous, so be careful with it, is one I'm going to be looking a bit more into and see will the team come on and have a chat and see what they're trying to do. But they have launched a stablecoin, MYUSD, which is actually backed by USDT over on the Tron blockchain. So if we go over to their site here, you can see that you can, well, this one, if we were doing it this way, we would be sending in USDT on TRC20, which is over on Tron, send that in, and we would get MYUSD over on Cardano. So I need to look, I'm not telling anybody to do it. I haven't done it myself yet. I've just seen it coming out, and we do need more stable coins on Cardano, more stable coin liquidity. So I really hope this one does work out, and I'll do my research. I'll come back in early January, but for anyone else who knows about it, do let me know down below if you've done your research. If we look at it here, you can see that currently on the policy ID, there are only a few accounts holding it, and the volume, where is it gone here? So the supply is 62,000 right now. So I need to look into it, look into custody of the TRC20 tokens as well over on Tron, see who has all of that, or the multi-sigs, or what way it's going to work. But again, look, I like to see new things coming out on chain, and do your research before you get deeper into anything like that. World Mobile then, so they announced, we talked a bit about this and the Aerostat and showed some of the video in last week's, and what they came out with in the last few days was to announce that Vodacom are part of that collaboration. So they're the ones that's going to be providing the network behind it, and then that will be pushed out through the Aerostat. There is an article on it here, and some of the comments from the Vodacom Mozambique was their support for World Mobile's Aerostat trial underscores their dedication to exploring new avenues for connectivity. And they said the trial started in November. It will run for a predetermined period to assess the efficiency and sustainability of Aerostat technology in real-world scenarios. So it's going to be very interesting to see how well this works, how good the connectivity is for everybody. Mickey is someone I'm definitely due a catch up with, so hopefully early next year I'll be able to have a chat with Mickey and go through all of this, see what else is in the pipeline for World Mobile. One thing, their buybacks are continuing weekly, so this is profits earned from the real world network used to buy back WMT, which will be paid out to stakers and Earthnode operators when the mainnet launches. Still haven't got the date on the mainnet launch, but again, it's not going to happen this year, obviously. Hopefully within Q1 we will get that, but nothing official from the team yet. On protocols then, one that I got some questions on was, what is Splash? So Spectrum Finance is a DEX on Cardano, or was a DEX. It is now going to rebrand to Splash. It was initially Ergo DEX, then it became Spectrum, and now it's going to become Splash. And Splash have been putting out a lot of posts about all the things they're going to do and how good they're going to be. So I am really looking forward to seeing, can they follow through on all of the promises or all of the advertisements that they are putting out about what they are going to do and how fast the DEX is going to be. Spectrum is going to become, or it was always meant to be, nearly a chain on its own for interoperability between other chains, and that's what they're going to focus on under the brand Spectrum now, and Splash will be the actual DEX. So if you look over on Splash, they do have the page here coming soon to Cardano. They talk about high performance execution engine, X20 throughput. So when you go through all the posts, you'll see they're talking a lot about how good it's going to be. I really do hope that it is going to be that good. I haven't seen anything else behind it yet, but look, maybe we'll be able to catch up with the team again early next year. Not going to happen in the next few weeks with Christmas and holidays and everything that's going on, but one to keep an eye on what's going on there too. Another hotly contested topic on Cardano right now, we talked about it in the live stream during the week with Pete, Fareed and Josh. We've done a live stream, I think Tuesday evening or Wednesday evening, can't remember now, and we went through a lot of things that's going on Cardano, and this is one that came up. And Smogpool over on Twitter, who is the creator of pool.pm, put out some stats here on the chain load. So if you're trading on Cardano, then you will notice there has been times during the week where transactions take a bit longer than they usually would, with chain load hitting up at 90% within an hour. And that means that blocks are getting full. So when they started to do the analysis on it, and I will leave links to all of this for people who want to dive a bit deeper into it, and Pi got involved in it too, and I'll link to something that Pi has put into the works too. And it looks like a lot of the space that's being taken up is being taken up by V1 contracts. So that is Plutus V1 contracts, which a lot of the early projects on Cardano are still using Plutus V1. They aren't allowed to use things like reference scripts, which means that every single time that they want to use a script, they have to include that in the block, which takes up space within the block and means less transactions can fit in there. For ones that are on Plutus V2 or Icon, then they don't have to do that. They can take advantage of reference inputs, which came in the Vassal hard fork. So when they went through it, they seen that, I don't know if it's here, there was a good one on the split, but I'll leave a link to all of this. I don't want to start going through it here. On a high level, a lot of the space is being taken up by V1 Plutus contracts. Now, Pi has put in a SIP, which is an improvement proposal, Cardano improvement proposal, and he's talking about here where, as a result, 80 to 90% of every block is occupied by repeating the same script over and over. So this is the idea that when you're using them, Sundaeswap is one of them, MyntSwap, Wing Riders, I think Vi Finance, not sure which other ones. There is a list which I'll try and link down below, but a lot of the most popular ones right now are still on the old contracts, and that is not good for the Cardano network. So look, we can up the block size, and that would mean that we can fit more into the block, but that's only putting a band-aid over the big problem, and that's going to help, or that's not going to help. It's going to be a bad thing, but it is going to increase the size of the chain overall when you just keep upping the block size. One I've talked about is maybe trying to change how often blocks come. I would like to see that, because that could help finality as well as getting more transactions in per minute. But we'll wait and see where that one goes. I will leave a link to Pi's SIP down below. And there was some other people who replied about maybe there's other solutions to this as well that mightn't require hard forks or might be easier to implement. But basically his idea is to allow V1 scripts to take advantage of part of the reference script. So they wouldn't have to include the script in every transaction, which initially when projects were building, they thought that the V2, Plutus V2 would be backwards compatible, and things like reference scripts, reference inputs, they would be able to use them with the V1 scripts, but that was changed when the release came out. Some of them weren't that happy about it, but there was nothing they could do at the time. And now they're looking to see, are there ways that they can do that? Because most of them are looking to upgrade to V2 contracts now. If we look at MyntSwap, I think they're going into, this says the audit is going to start in January. This is for V2. This is moving to Icon, which will be on V2 and be a lot quicker. Sundaeswap are also in the process of going to V2 contracts, going to Icon. Pi has been on the channel, and I might bring him on in the new year to talk about the SIP and also talk about something they're doing with Sundaeswap here and the fee structure on a temperature check. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we do need change. We do need to push dApps to go to V2 contracts. But even when they do, liquidity that is still sitting in V1 contracts will still need to be used, because when you put your funds into a smart contract, you are still the only one that can use them or get control of them. So you are the one that has to move them from V1 into V2. When the V2 contracts come out, we do need to see the majority of the liquidity move from V1 into V2, but each individual user has to do that. So it's not a quick fix just moving to V2, because both will still have to run together. So what they're looking to do is, if they can bring in something along the lines of the SIP that Pi has put out, that would help, but we still need to push dApps to move to V2, not just for the amount of space they took up in transactions, but also the performance increases that it brings. When Pi was on, we talked a bit about this and how much quicker Icon is going to be. The same with MyntSwap. When I've looked into everything they're doing, they're expecting some massive improvements in performance. So then this thing from Pi was about the Sundaeswap fee structure, and right now, so this is a temperature check to see when they do bring in the new contracts, what should be the fees they charge for batching transactions. So right now, Sundaeswap is one of the most expensive at 2.5 ADA. It does say here TeddySwap is 2.5 to 2.8, but outside of that, Sundaeswap is the most expensive. MyntSwap are 2, Wing Riders are 2. But another advantage of moving to Icon is they will be able to reduce these fees, and they're looking at what should they be reduced to. And they have 4 different options here. So one is keep the base. So there's a base fee and then there's an incremental fee. So the base fee is what is needed to cover the actual cost of the transaction. Incremental then is something that can be used to pay the batchers or the scoopers or whatever the individual dApps use to pay whoever is running the batching process. So right now they have the 4 options that they want the community to come in and have their say on. Leave it as it is at 2.5, so no base, just the incremental at 2.5. Have the base and then have an incremental 1.4. Have a smaller incremental, or then have a really small incremental fee down here, which might just about cover the cost of the batcher's infrastructure, because it's not cheap to have good infrastructure behind all of this. So one thing that is becoming a popular train of thought here, or people talking about, is maybe doing the cheaper one to start, because that's going to bring more people in to use the DEX. And I do agree on this, because look, from an end user perspective, all that you want to do is get the cheapest transactions, get the best value for your trade. I know from ADA Markets with us, we've seen trades where they don't go through Sundaeswap because the batcher fees might be too high, and that small bit of ADA, because we take all of that into account when we're splitting transactions across multiple DEXs, and sometimes the higher fee can be the result that the transaction doesn't push as much through there, or doesn't push anything through because it just doesn't give the end user the value. So personally, I think maybe starting down at the cheapest one to help bring more people back to the DEX, and then looking at bringing it up to something that makes it profitable for the people running the infrastructure behind, because you want them to be running good infrastructure to make sure that everything is still happening fast on the front end for the user. Next up, we have Cornucopias. Their Copy node sale is running. This post was yesterday, actually, was round or tier 3 of their Copy node sale. So this is to get a license to be able to run a node for downloading the software. I talked about this last week, so I won't get into it now. It's another project early next year. I do need to catch up with Rob and Josh. But if you want to get involved and get a node, then make sure you follow them and get registered on their marketplace. You can see, so this is the marketplace here. Actually, you can see I'm just logged into it, and this is what the sale process looks like. So tier 3, which was yesterday, as far as I know, 22nd of December, was the price of the NFT was $300 worth of ADA. This goes up every tier. It goes up slightly. I think I have the file here for the nodes. Let's see, is it the sale discounts? So you can see it started at $270. When it finishes, it will go up to just over $1,000, and every single time it goes up slightly. The amount of supply in each of them is going down, and so this is going to be cross-chain. So this is the Cardano sale. It's going to happen on Ethereum as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing what is the uptake on Ethereum and how many people come in from there. We've seen the Copy token listed on Uniswap lately, which really did do a lot for the price. We also seen it listed on Gate during the week, which once again, it's great to allow more people to be able to come in and get involved. Closing out this one, which is going on a bit longer than planned, is the Cardano Foundation's new partnership with, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Petrobras. It's a Brazilian company, a very big Fortune 500 company, and they will be putting some of their employees through, I think I've seen 500 was first, to go through the Cardano Foundation education program. So this is their blockchain academy, which we talked about recently, and I will leave links down below if you want to get involved. It is free for anyone to go in, get educated on how blockchains work, not just Cardano. You do get a good broad education base on that. That's about it. This might be my last video for the year. I will have the interview with Fluid Tokens coming out in the next few days, but outside of that, I'm not sure if I'll get another one out, because we have another baby coming next week, which will take up a lot of my time. If I'm not talking to people, happy Christmas, happy New Year. I hope the channel has brought you some value in 2023, and I look forward to bringing a lot more in 2024. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Talk to you soon.